Today on the Tim Marner podcast show, I have got my beautiful, beautiful friend, Sandra Breen. I think this could potentially be the fourth podcast that we've done together. Mm-hmm. Each podcast just keeps getting better and better. Thousands of views. People love Sandra, so that's why she's here again. What are we talking about today?
So, first of all, I'd just like to thank you. Thank you for letting me share my message. And what's the intention for today is to share some information and education about health and healing. That's really what the intention is. And for people to start to look at things differently. That's what education does. It sort of like shows us a different way of thinking, a different way of behaviour. So that's my key message in this podcast. You know, some of the message that I share might be, trigger you because it's like, whoa, I've been walking the wrong path or whatever, but use that power to free yourself and maybe go and educate yourself more or take a different path. So, yeah, that's the intention.
The intention. Big one, Sandra, is ego, right? That I want to talk to you about. And how do people get rid of ego? Do you ever get rid of ego, or have you just got to make it your friend?
Okay. So, yeah, it's bashed around a lot, the ego. We don't lose the ego. We use the ego to our advantage. There's a difference. So what we have to do is we have to quash the ego, but we don't completely lose it. We learn to work with it. So we think of our body as a vehicle. So if we think of our body as a vehicle and we've got 4 wheels, okay? And those 4 wheels represent what we are as a human being. Your spiritual wheel, your mental wheel, and your physical wheel, but then you've got the wheel of the ego. So you think of those 4 wheels and they're filled with air. If your ego is very inflamed and heightened, your balance, it's inflated, your balance is going to be off. If your spiritual energy is not in place, it's going to be less. If your physical energy is not in place, so your whole vehicle is going to be off balance. So how we work with these elements, and it's particularly the ego, it's what am I filling the engine with? What's the fuel that's going in the vehicle? So again, that's my food. What am I watching on television? Who am I around? And so when we're around the right people and we're doing the inner work, our ego tends to lessen. So we get to look at the ego and work with it. The ego doesn't know the difference between highs and lows. The ego will keep taking you. So if you're in a position where you're out of balance, your physical health is bad, your mental health is bad, you're not in your spiritual health, the ego will take over. Because the ego can inflate more. So it takes over, So that's people in addiction, for instance. The ego will take over because everything else, part of your vehicle, is out of balance. So the ego takes over, gets inflated, and the ego will keep taking you. Of course you can have a drink. Of course you can take the drug. Of course you can, whatever it is that you're in addiction. So it's really about balancing the vehicle, fueling the vehicle with the right kind of fuel, and so we're in balance. So yeah, the ego is not what we lose, it's how we learn to use it to navigate us through and keep it in balance. Everything is balance. If your ego is very inflated, people get confused about the ego. They think it's somebody who wants to be flash and have the flash car. Yeah, that's part of the ego. But the ego also is a part of you that stops you from living in your true essence. Because your ego is like, oh, that's a load of rubbish. Oh, what are you doing this for? What are you doing that for? And it's a part of you. But how I work with the ego is I talk to it. I see it coming in. And I really talk to it and tell it to dismiss. No. But it does help me in a lot of ways because the kind of work that I do, I could completely be in my ego. But I don't because I come from a place of authenticity and also humble to be able to do this work. But I could very much be in my ego. And there's a lot of people in the spiritual ego thinking that they are better than somebody else or their practice is better than somebody else. Spiritual ego. We want to dismiss that and we want to quash it. Be humble and be humble that you're blessed to be able to do this work. So yeah, I see it coming in. And I talk to it. Like it's a part of me. It's one of my wheels. Yeah. So I don't let it get too inflated because it's going to completely stop, my balance will be out.
So when people say an ego death, and they use that within, the plant ceremony thing, I've had an ego death, what does that mean?
So what that means is it's deflating the ego.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're completely missing the ego because it is there. The ego is earth ground only keeps us grounded in the earth plane.
Earth ground only.
Mm-hmm.
Not heard that before.
So if you're completely in your ego, you're only in the earth grounding, which means you're not in your spiritual realm.
Right.
Okay. So the ego keeps us grounded. It's what keeps us into this earth plane. Okay. But as we've evolved as humans, the ego's took over because we've been in a lot of masculine energy, driving force. I want more, more materialism, seeking from outside of us. That's the ego. But once we start to come into the inner work and do the spiritual work and the healing, we come from within. And that's where the true work is. So the ego just is there. It can raise its head, but we know how to navigate it. Because we don't want to be just earth grounded. We want to work with the other realms. We want to work with the other dimensions because that's truly where the magic is. So the ego death doesn't mean that you lose the whole ego. It means that it's quietened, it's deflated, so my body can be in balance, and I'm in balance in the world. I do need a little bit of ego to keep me earth grounded, because you do meet some of these spiritual woo-woos who are just completely, not balanced. They're just so extreme. We need to be balanced.
How many people do you think have been through your doors?
I would not even like to imagine.
It's got to be thousands, hasn't it?
Thousands, yeah. And I know we've discussed this before, and you've said to me, "You're not anywhere. You don't advertise."
Yeah.
No, we work in the frequency, God's frequency. Your soul knows when you're ready to come for this kind of work that I do, and just the souls arrive. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I work in shamanic practice. And what is shamanic practice? And there's a lot of people who think it's, plagiarism or,
Sort of cult.
Yeah, and it's new earth hippie kind of vibration. Shamanism is the oldest techniques that we have for healing. Shamanism is connecting with the elements, fire, earth, wind and water. We use all these things in ceremony. We use sage, we use Salopanto, that represents the earth. We use water on the altar where we invite the ancestors in. We use feathers, that's the wind. And we use fire, we use the candles. So we're inviting all these elements into ceremony, and we're connected to the spirit realm, because the spirit realm is where we can connect and we can work with the spirit of somebody that's in ceremony. I also call in the spirit of the medicines that we're working with. Even using sage, Salopanto, or anything like that, you should call the spirit of it in before you're even using it. People are flying around the place and don't know what they're doing. Call the spirit of it in. Call the spirit of the sage. Call the spirit of... because that's where the energy will lift. So this is thousands of years practice. This is not new. This is where we connect to nature, because nature is where it's all happening. And as humans, we've been disconnected from nature. In our farming days, we're totally connected to the earth, the elements. People were so connected to the divine, to God. They would just ask for guidance. When are we going to plant our vegetables? When are we going to plant the seeds? They were so connected. They could tell by the weather. So again, they were using all these elements. Fire was their life. We used to sit around the fire. We used to cook around the fire. It was our heat. It was everything. So these elements were all so important in shamanic practice. So we were very connected. And then what happened in our Celtic ways? The Romans came, and the Romans took over, and they took us off our farming land and they put us into villages. And that's when the industrialization started. We lost our connection to source. We lost our connection to the earth. We are animals. Even our foods that we eat now, so much food is toxic. And this is something that I really want to push here, is that, we need to get back to eating whole foods. We need to eat vegetables from the earth, because we're connected to the earth, really wholesome vegetables, because we need those to stabilize the body. We want to eat fruits that carry the codes of the sun. We are animals. This is how we thrive. And unfortunately, the food industry is, the toxins that they put in food now is, I don't even know how they get away with it. And this is really what healing's about, is coming back to the essence of who you are. We may eat the most amazing food. We can be so creative with food, and enjoy food, have food as a ceremony, celebrate food, make it with love, and put that vibration in the food. We always bless our food. You know, you witnessed, you came for the course. We eat high vibrational food because we've got to be high vibrational people when we're doing this healing work. So shamanic practice is, it's very much connected to God. You know, it's very much connected to Christ consciousness. We are doing that work. Jesus was a healer. He was an energy healer. Jesus was a medicine man. Jesus served his disciples plant medicine. That's how they seen the miracles. You know, we're doing Jesus' work. And, you know, and for people that question that, you know, these are the type of people who would be very religious, going to church every Sunday, being sat in church, listening to the priest and what have you. That's okay if you find comfort in that. But, you know, to be truly connected to God, we don't judge anybody else. You know, if you don't understand something, don't judge it and condemn it. Find out about it. You know, in my practice, I have rabbis, I've had priests, I've had all sorts of people to come and take this blessed medicine because they see it's God's medicine. It's from the earth. And that's where they agree with God. You know? So, shamanic practice is really important in this work. And science has proven it with the plant medicines. That, you know, if somebody goes to a ceremony, a shamanic practice ceremony that's held, that's where the magic happens. You see it. It's the music. It's the gong. It's the, you know, we're creating vibration. We're inviting the spirit of the medicine into ceremony. So it's a very, very important part of the healing. And we do energy work where it's needed in the ceremony because, you know, we need to be able to shift and open those chakras when there's stuff that's trapped within the chakras.
So I held space for you, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, and obviously we've done a lot of ceremonies together, me and you, but it was the first time I witnessed you doing one, and I'm sat there, and all of a sudden you keep spraying this stuff on your hands, and I'm like, oh, she's going in. I'm like, how do you know? Are you just feeling something, and you're going over and...
Oh, you've got to remember, you know, I've had lots of years of practice. We take a small amount of the medicine, so I'm totally in tune with the medicine. The medicine completely guides me. I know exactly when I need to go in and shift energy. I know exactly when to, you know, what music to play. You know, you've seen how the room shifts with the vibration of the music, and that's because we need to shift people once they got to a certain point.
You feel like they're all getting uncomfortable and moving
like
that.
And we do that on purpose.
She's done that to me before.
But we do that because when we want to do the work, we want to go into those places where your emotion is stored. So these vibrational music that I use will go in and it'll make you uncomfortable because it's unearthing those emotions that need to come to the surface because we hide away from emotion. You know, so, you know, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't diagnose. I don't prescribe, you know. So what I do is I do a consultation and I look at where the trapped emotion is. I share information, I share education, and I can give you guidance on some high frequency products that can really support in your healing. And I do energy work. Energy work is key to healing. You know, Einstein, Tesla, some of the great minds that have ever walked this earth have said energy and frequency will be the healing of the future. We're already on it. Yeah. We know this, we understand this. Energy is everything. So when I do energy work, I'm releasing emotion and I don't heal anybody. I'm a high frequency being because I keep myself high frequency. And when I'm doing healing on somebody, I am raising their frequency so their body can heal itself. Okay? 2 types of disease, acute and chronic. Acute is, I'm having a heart attack, I need to go to A&E. I'm having a brain hemorrhage, I need to go to A&E. I've had a car crash and I need to go to A&E. Chronic is diabetes, asthma, migraines, all these different elements, inflammation. These are chronic diseases. Chronic disease is your body's way of saying you are out of balance. So you go to your doctor, and your doctor, you go with asthma, okay? You're going to be given inhalers. I'll have a client come to me, and he's got asthma. How many years have you been using inhalers? 20 years. So why are you not healed? You're just keeping in the frequency. You're telling your body you've got asthma. You're using these inhalers, which are unhealthy for your system. Your body can't heal. We do energy work. We talk about diet. We talk about, what products we can use to support the system. Energy work. Yeah. You go to your doctor with migraines. You continue to have migraines. You'll be put on some chemical, pharmaceutical drug that will keep you in that frequency. I have a lot of people come to me and they'll say, oh, I've been diagnosed with this, this and this. And I said, okay, so somebody's told you you've got that, so now you've become it. You've gone and done some research, you've told your body you have this, whatever it is you've been diagnosed with, and now you've become it. We need to untrain the mind and bring you back to balance and dismiss these diagnoses. In the medical system, people are overdiagnosed, overprescribed. You go into the medical system, for instance, I'll give you an example, okay? So I had somebody recently that she was in severe inflammation and pain in a whole of her body, really inflamed. So she came to see me, and I said to her, let's go back to when this started. And she said, well, I had a chest infection. So I said, okay, so what were you prescribed? She was prescribed a particular antibiotic for the chest infection. I said, this is the result of the antibiotics. It's caused complete inflammation in your body. Your body is in spasms and pain from the antibiotic. She went back to her doctor then. The doctor prescribed, before she'd come to me, more antibiotics. Okay, so then what happens with the antibiotics? It inflames the gut, kills the microbiome. She then has to go to the doctor and she has to get some kind of prescription, pharmaceutical prescription, for the reflux that she's getting. Okay. So now she's completely out of balance. I said, we come off all that medication, did some healing, did some energy work, filled her with shilajit, all the nutrients that her body needs to build up the gut. When you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you go with an infection, which, is wise, go and see your doctor. But they'll prescribe antibiotics, but does the doctor tell you that this antibiotics could more than likely cause you a depression, cause you inflammation, cause you... No. Do you ever read the small print? No. So we've just been conditioned into thinking that we need to go to the doctor. If you've got chronic disease, you need to go and see a healer, because we can go back, and a lot of chronic disease is due to trapped emotion, because you've not worked through, this stress, anxiety, trauma that you've been through. We need to bring the body back to balance. Okay, so how do we do that? Energy work, high frequency products that are all natural from the earth, shamanic practice. We're going back to the elements. I've always said, mushrooms will heal the world. I've got some amazing high frequency products now with all the different mushrooms, chaga, turkey tail, lion's mane, all beautiful products that are, they're made in Finland. Finland is the highest frequency, cleanest air in the world. These products are the highest frequency products that you can actually get on the market. Turkey tail, I have people coming to me with cancers, brain tumours. Turkey tail, rebalance the body, look at the diet. Diet is your medicine, and when someone has chronic disease, cancers, we need to bring the gut back to balance. The microbiome is the brain. It's the bacteria, okay? So we need to build up the bacteria in the gut. That's where all the happy hormones are. So if you're suffering depression, and you get a prescription from your doctor, toxic. Anything from the pharmaceuticals, any single thing is toxic in your body. It has chemicals. Even if you went to your high street, health food shops that are out there, I recently went in to just look at their products, and I was absolutely appalled. When you look at the back, you might be buying a vitamin C vitamin. The casing on that vitamin, the tablet form, is full of chemicals. You're getting no benefit from that. You're just putting toxins in your body. It's scary. It's scary.
You're not messing about here, are you, with this podcast?
Oh no, I'm here to share information, and I'm because Nelson Mandela once said, "If you want to change the world, change education." And I do believe now that I'm here to educate people on their health. I never owned that before, but because I just see the results of what we're doing and the impact it's having on people's lives, I really feel that I need to educate people on their health, healing. This is about, let's not mess about anymore. Let's speak the truth. I can't hide away from it anymore. The results are too phenomenal. Seeing people's lives change, either with the plant medicine, you know, or with the healing, it's just too powerful. And this is why I chose to step up and start training people. And you were on my course, you know. And
do you want to talk about the Sandra Breen Academy?
Yeah.
I've basically just labelled it. And the course. Why did you feel that now was the time to start getting people trained up?
Because I'm
very grateful, mate, by the way. It was, oh my God, it was the best.
Yeah.
A full week.
Oh, yeah.
Of just, beautiful
Absolute.
people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously I've been guided by the medicine that I am a teacher and that, you know, I will be teaching. I'm dyslexic, I'm ADHD, how am I going to teach people? But yeah, once I stepped into that role, wow, it just felt I've been doing this for thousands of years. And I think, you know, we had 10 people on the course. And what was so beautiful about the course was it was so diverse. We had 3 Orthodox Jewish, beautiful souls. Yeah. We had 2 Sikhs, we had 2 mixed race and the rest of us. And how beautiful was that we could understand each other's culture and really get a true understanding of each other. But it didn't matter where we were from because we were all one. It was so connection beyond belief. And what I've done in that course is, you know, it's so interactive.
Yeah, brilliant.
You're not just going to learn about energy healing. You're going to learn about yourself and how to raise your vibration. You're going to learn about, you know, the components of everything. And you know, and it's very interactive. You know, I'm always, because I was very aware that there's quite a few of us with neurodiverse and ADHD. How am I going to keep them all interested?
Yeah. You kept me onto it all the way through it.
All the way through.
I wasn't bored once.
No, there was no boredom. And Lewis, at one point, he went, "We're not what?" The magic that we created, and we birthed it together, and I'm so grateful, you know. And I got a download one night. I had a dream, and he was like, "You must invite Tim on the course." I was like, "Okay." And I remember you said to me, "I'm not doing any of that hands-on stuff." And I said, "It doesn't matter, Tim." I said, "The skills that you will take will help you in your consultations and just in your life in general." But you took to it like a duck to water. Once you tapped into that energy, it was phenomenal, you know, because what we're tapping into is our true essence, our life force, our God's energy. When we, you know, we work with our 5 senses, don't we? Smell, touch, feel, but we tapped into the 6th sense. The 6th sense is where it's all at, which gets stripped away from us. And the reason it gets stripped away from us, because when we're children, we've got such an imagination. You know, there's an old saying, show me the boy at 7 and I'll show you the man. Yeah. We learn everything up to the age of 7 because we're in a hypnotic state, we're in a theta state, which is our brain is open to everything. So we watch the adults around us. And this is really important information because you have to understand that that inner child up to the age of 7 learns everything, all the conditioning, all the beliefs. We're sat in a chair at 3 and 4 in a school dictated to. Our imagination is stopped. Yeah. You know, we should be still climbing trees and being barefoot on the earth. So a child is conditioned up to the age of 7. So if it's living in an environment where there's abuse, there's anger, there's, you know, every one of us as children are seeking love. Okay, and how do I seek love? So if you're in a household where, you know, there's a lot of children, there's anger, there's, you know, how do you seek your love? For a lot of children, they learn to shut down and be quiet. Because they're not held emotionally. When a child has an outburst, we're supposed to hold them emotionally and, you know, let them express. But they're told to be quiet. When they cry, be quiet, especially boys, you know. So once you're conditioned to 7, that's how I seek love in the world. So it forms your relationships, your personal relationships, your friendships, how you seek love, because everybody's seeking love, okay? So you learn that behavior by the age of 7. You then are conditioned. Okay, so this is how I seek love. It's, you know. So when someone comes to me for a consultation, we go back to the child. Always. I always ask the information. Who did you live with when you were a child? You know, and for a lot of children, if a parent has left home or, you know, there's been some big tragedy, they're stuck in that emotion and they cannot move past it. Yeah? So getting an understanding about their behaviour and why they behave in a certain way is so important in healing. That's the emotional healing. Yeah, and then after the consultation, I'll do the energy work, and it is. Yeah, I'm so blessed. You send me so many people. you know, because you understand the work. You're like, yeah, you need to go and see Sandra. And I'm so grateful for that because, you know...
I get messages all the time, you know, shout out to Christina from Sylvian Care. She sent me a beautiful message the other day, and I'm just like, just giving her that gift. I'm just like, wow.
She's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and they're arranging a private ceremony now, bring some beautiful souls over from Romania, you know. So we're spreading the love and light. It's like amazing. I've just been in Ireland doing ceremonies. Some beautiful work in Ireland.
Yeah.
You know, there's no services in Ireland for addiction and mental health. It's very poor.
You know, when you went back to, you know, you were saying about that, is it the same thing for how alcoholics and, you know, when they still, I'm still an alcoholic, but I don't drink. You know, saying somebody who, you know, labour themselves and it's that.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't believe in labelling anybody with anything.
Right.
Because it keeps you contained. I don't believe you should call yourself an alcoholic. I don't believe, you know, I said that is a way of keeping you in the frequency. Okay. A lot of people will come to me, they maybe have stopped drinking, they may have put back down the spirit, but they've not done the inner work. So they're clinging onto life, white knuckling it. Just trying to avoid alcohol. I'm an alcoholic. You're speaking it into your existence. It's like another label that you've been given from somebody that says, oh, you've got this and you've got that.
Yeah.
You become it because your subconscious takes that in. It's like someone with a terminal illness. They're told they've got 3 months to live. What's going to happen? That subconscious is going to take that on and they live 3 months. I don't believe we should tell anybody how long they're going to live. And I don't believe that we should tell people with cancer that they can't heal because they can. I've worked with a lot of people with brain tumours, cancers, and we can bring the body back into balance. And I'm not saying that you don't go to your medical doctor. I don't say I'm alternative. I say I'm complementary. We work together. And, you know, I have doctors that send me clients. I have psychotherapists that send me clients. I have psychologists that send me clients. I am not a medical doctor. But what I was a governor for the NHS for 15 years. I sat at that strategic table and I seen how the medical system works. And, you know, I did some beautiful work while I was there because I would ask tough questions. But I was very much bringing my feminine into those meetings where it's full of men in grey suits and, you know, asking, well, how's this going to affect the patient? Why can't we be doing this? And why can't we do that? How's his staff managing with this? You know, bringing that beautiful feminine energy to big board meetings. They'd always send me to London. I'd go and sit with the health minister. And I'd say to the health minister, you don't know my community. You don't know what my community needs. I've got a Jewish, very high Orthodox Jewish community. I've got a Muslim community. You know, we've got so many diverse communities around us. You don't know what their needs are. How can you put systems in place when you do not? You sit in your ivory tower here, you don't know nothing about my community and what their needs are. You know, the Jewish community have a different way of giving birth. The Muslim women have a different way of giving birth. You can't have one system, you know. And giving birth has been medicalised. It's the most natural thing we can do, you know. We come back to putting somebody in calm and balance. Lying a woman on a bed giving birth, it's all wrong. The medical system has medicalised it. You are not ill having a child. It's the most natural thing we can do. So yeah, you know, when it comes to knowledge, I am not trained medically, but I've sat and done the work in the NHS and I understand it strategically, which means I understand how much money is in that system and misused. You know, healthcare is a business. I was recently in America and the biggest industry in America is healthcare insurance. And we got an Uber this day and the Uber driver, I was chatting to him and I said, oh, so are you just an Uber driver? He said, no, I'm a doctor. I said, well, why are you driving an Uber? He said, I have to work one day in the week, he said, to pay for my mother-in-law's health insurance. So I said, why in America is everyone working to pay their health insurance? Why don't they just look after their health? And he just looked at me and went, it's like I spoke alien to him. I said, why do you not invest in your health? I said, your food is toxic. I mean, the food, I couldn't hardly eat anything. And everyone's in fear. Everybody's in fear. It's like, well, let's reverse that, you know. We have an NHS system. It's unique to us in the UK. And, you know, when Bevin designed the NHS system, I believe he did it from his heart and he wanted to support people. You know, people are going to get free healthcare from cradle to grave. But what did it really create? It created people to be relying on a healthcare system and not taking responsibility for their own health. We've got more ill health, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health than we've ever had before. So, this medical system, we need to relook at. Doctors are not trained in energy. Doctors are not trained in frequency. Doctors are not trained in emotional healing. And this is where the key is. So moving forward, it's like re-educating ourselves. We're overprescribed, overdiagnosed, and it's just killing us as humans. So coming back to our shamanic practice, which is getting back to who we truly are, the elements, thousands of years ago, we did go to a doctor for antibiotics. We used plants, we used food. People didn't get cancers because there's no toxic food. Yeah. We weren't under stress. We were out in the fields working on the lands. All we were bothered about was creating food for the evening meal. We weren't under stress, working the 9 to 5, killing ourselves for these material things. And that's what so many people are under, stress and anxiety. Because are you ready to sell your soul for wealth, fame? So what is power? Power is coming into the Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is a vibration, okay? It's not Christianity. It's not religious. It's a vibration. And when you come into Christ consciousness is pure love. Understanding that you are a love being. Mm. You are worthy of love. And you are worthy of giving love. Yeah. It's your consciousness. Your consciousness is your heart, okay? Understanding that we are all one. And, we are raising our consciousness. So Christ's consciousness is really coming back to the true essence. And you have to go on a healing journey to do that. Because if you're still carrying anger, bitterness, shame, guilt, this is why the healing journey is so important. Because then we can come into the Christ consciousness. And, that's when you become a high vibrational being. And the Christ consciousness is God. If you've not got God in your life, you're missing the most powerful part of being human, because God is a frequency. He's not a man in the sky. He's not religion. And a lot of people who, Bible bashing about God. And, I was in Leicester and there was these people and they were banging on the drum and they were, God is Messiah and you will die if you do. And I walked past them 3 times, and on the third time back, I just stopped to one of them and I said, this is not what God wants you to do. Singing and dancing and you will die if you're not. I said, this is not God's work. Go and be kind to people. Be kind to yourself first. Spread love in the world. That is God's work. So that true essence of God's vibration. And if you've not got God in your life, you are really missing out, because it's where the magic happens. And
I thought you were bonkers when you first told me that, and I'm just like, what is she banging on about?
You met God in my living room.
Yeah, 100%.
So many people are like, wow. Yeah, I've had rabbis who've took the medicine and said they call God a Shem. Sandra, I met a Shem in your living room more than I ever did in a synagogue. Okay, so it's a vibration, and it's
essentially me that I met.
Exactly, because you are God.
Yeah,
we are God. So it's meeting that self. Now you're healed.
Yeah,
but you had to go through the healing journey to do that, because you were in the frequency of, resentment, blame, whatever, and that's what the healing journey is, taking away all these low dice and frequencies, emotions, and that's what the healing journey is. So if you've got physical chronic disease in your body, you are out of vibration. You need to do the energy work, you need to do the emotional work, and the plant medicine can really help with that, because it goes in. I had an Orthodox Jewish ceremony on Thursday, and there was a beautiful man that came from London. And straight away I knew he was out of balance. As soon as he started on the medicine, I just did some work on his back to open his chakras. And he cried all the way through that ceremony. I've never seen anybody cry so much. And I just sat next to him just to send him the energy. I did a lot of energy work on him. And he rang me this morning. And he said, Sandra, I need to ask you what you did. So I said, why? And he went, I feel incredible. I feel amazing. He said, I've done years of therapy. He said, what was the hands that I said, I did energy work. I said, to help release. I said, and all that emotion that came up for you was from childhood. You were never held as a child. You were never allowed to express. He said, yeah. I said, so as an adult, it just stacks. It just stacks. It just stacks. I said, so all that release was beautiful. It was beautiful to witness, and I'm honoured to have held space for you. He said, but your energy, how come I knew that you were there or you were there or you were there? And I said, because I can shift energy in ceremony. I can be in different places, put my energy in different places and just... He said, you didn't charge me enough. I said, this isn't about money. This is God's medicine. And you were obviously called to it. And souls are called to it. You know, people will ring me with intrigue. I'm not sure about this, but, you know, I'm feeling I want to try it. And I'm like, yeah, your soul is telling you need to come for medicine. So yeah,
I think I told you that story on the first time that I got a call in, and I wasn't quite sure what it was, and I thought it was ayahuasca that called me. So I'd booked on a ayahuasca retreat, and I paid the money to go. And then I got a message from someone, I can't remember it because it was that long ago, saying you need to go and see Sandra. And I just rang and said, I'm not coming, you can keep the money. And then I booked in with you because I knew that was my calling to come and see you.
But you see, synchronicity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at the beautiful work we do together now.
Yeah.
The souls that you send, and, you know, this beautiful work. And I said to you all when you were in that ceremony, you will be called upon. Now you've had your activations, you will be called upon. And it's beautiful. I mean, some of the students are absolutely flying now, and they're just incredible. It's life-changing.
Yeah, so, I mean, to watch, it was quite, got me that actually, quite proud to see Reese and Lewis and Chloe. I'm just like, oh my God, look at them.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Not that I didn't see him before, but I'm just like, shit.
See him in ceremony and just knowing what to do and just being
Brilliant.
on it. Yeah.
And I was kind of part of that. I was just sat there.
But your energy was beautiful. Your energy was very grounding, you know. And Chloe said to me at one point, she said, I was sat on the other side, and I looked over, she said, you had 4 men behind you. She said, how did it feel? I said, it was beautiful. That masculine energy behind me was just so beautiful. So yeah, I work with that energy and I can take it, you know, I can take it into where I need to take it. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Can I talk about something with you, which is, look, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but can we talk a little bit about Reiki? I'll be all right to talk about that. And can I ask you your opinion on Reiki?
I think Reiki is probably a starting point for people when they're starting out on the energy sort of like work. But yeah, Reiki calls in different symbols and different energy, and it comes from, you know, sometimes we call it goblin energy, and goblin energy is cheeky. It's like an energy that gets fed when you do Reiki, and it can be cheeky. And if we're feeding into that goblin energy, it's feeding into that goblin energy, which is not really the most productive for where we are in this earth plane. We're working in God's energy. Energy healing is very different to Reiki. You know, people will say to me, oh, I've been for Reiki, and I say, beautiful, you know, they've gained some comfort from that. When they come for energy work, it's completely different. We are shifting. We are working in the chakras and we are shifting. Reiki, you know, if people are doing Reiki, it's fine, but I do think it's a gateway to maybe stepping up and doing some further deep work in energy work. Also, who's practicing the Reiki? You know, if I was going to go and see someone with Reiki, I'd want to know who that person is. Are they a high vibrational person? Are they a high frequency person? Because I would not let anybody lay their hands on me unless they were a high frequency person. Because what we're doing is, as a high frequency energy healer, we're raising people's frequency. We are high frequency beings. We look after ourselves. We don't drink alcohol. We don't do, you know, eat crap. We energize our bodies because we have to stay in that frequency. So yeah, who's putting my hands on me? Be very wary. There's a lot of people out there doing Reiki online, and, you know, they've got no safeguarding. Don't know about trauma informed. You know, what are they going to do if their client completely opens up and has just gone back into a trauma? So it's really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, you know, up the skills of people in the community so we can be more recognised and regulated, because we're not regulated. Yeah. My course is completely accredited in the highest shamanic accreditation that we can have, you know, and that's important to me because I want my work to be valued. I want people to see it as credible. And that's why I've been slow on this journey to start teaching and what have you, because I needed to be solid in my work. I can't become a master of something unless I've been doing a multitude of work. You know, I've been doing this work for a long time. You know, I'm doing energy healing every single day. I'm working with energy every single day. I understand it inside out. And until I was able to do that, I wasn't able to teach. You know, people go on a Reiki course, level 1, level 2, then they go on a master's course and the next thing they're teaching. How many clients have you worked with? You cannot become a master in anything unless you have practiced. Years of practice.
10,000 hours.
Absolutely. So, you know, that's the scary part. And that's what worries me. And, you know, and there's a lot of people in this for money because they're having to earn money, putting on courses and things like that. And
Spiritual
it's like,
ego.
Exactly. You know, for me, anybody that wants to come on my course, you'll have done some work with me.
Yeah, and it's brutal. You don't hold any punches, mate, do you?
No. You want to be the best. And, you know, I want to know who the people that I'm sharing my wisdom and knowledge to. This is a brand new modality. I want to know who I'm sharing this wisdom and knowledge to and how they're going to take it out into the world. Because they have to be... I mean, what were the students like on the course?
Incredible.
Oh, my goodness. It's just incredible. And...
just about love.
Wow. It was amazing.
Yeah. It's so hard for people, isn't it, to understand love.
It is. And for a lot of people, like... you know, and especially the Orthodox Jewish men, when they come into my home and they see this kindness and this, you know, projection of love, they think, you know, what's under this?
What do you want?
Oh, yeah. But once they come through the medicine and they realise, they're like, wow, because they never experienced it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of this work. Everything is love. What's the new consciousness? Love. So that's the Christ consciousness, being a love being, working through all your traumas, working through everything. And you know, actually being that love. And that's the one thing that we serve up in our house.
Yeah, it's in abundance.
Oh.
Not when you walk through the door.
And so many people are like, I don't want to leave. And it's okay. You know, my eldest son said to me, do you think you're grooming people, Mum? Are you creating a cult? I said, well, you know, the only thing we serve up here is love and everyone's free to leave.
Yeah.
You know.
But, I mean, you know, from the outside, mate, I mean, we don't take what other people say, but from the outside it can very much look like that. Absolutely. We cannot stay in that energy of what other people think.
No, absolutely. And with the work as well, you know. And so, yeah, no, it's all about God. It's all about love. It's all about the Christ consciousness. It's all about, you know, if what we're doing, creating better human beings and bringing them back to love, that's God's work. Putting people out into the world so they can be love, be better parents to the children, be a better partner. So what happens when we take the medicine? We take the medicine and we get an overview of ourselves, our behaviours, what we project on people, how we affect people. And that is the power, because you actually see it, because we get stuck in the head and the heart, but this is like a triangle. We're looking at a different angle and we can... Whoa. So it gives you the wisdom and knowledge. You know, it also as well creates new pathways in the brain. So it's like you lived at the top of a mountain, okay? So you lived at the top of the mountain and it was full of snow. So every day you're coming out on the mountain to get to the bottom. You're going in a ridge, aren't you? You're creating a pathway. Yeah. You might decide to go on the other side of the mountain and create a pathway. So you've got two pathways and you're using these pathways every day to go up and down this mountain. So you've only got these two ridges that you're using. When we take the medicine, it's like a tornado of snow comes down and clears these ridges, because that's the neurons in your brain. You're only using part of your brain, always. But the medicine opens up new ridges and allows you to use parts of your brain, creating the neuroplasticity, creates new neurons in the brain. So somebody with depression, anxiety, fear, all these things, this medicine comes in and we start to use other parts of the brain. I mean, what are your meditations like? You can tap in to so many other dimensions, and that's what the medicine does.
Yeah.
So when people first come and they'll have their first experience with medicine, usually that is working through trauma. Usually that's highlighting what needs to be worked on. You know, and then people come back and then they have the mystical, magical experience where they can tap into other realms, other beings, other things that are there for us, because our brain... we only use 10%. 90% is dormant. So we're activating these parts of the brain that we can tap into, you know. And again, in the course, I was teaching you how to tap into the sixth sense, which is where the magic is. And that's what the medicine does, you know. So it's important that, you know, anybody that's wanting to feel more nourished, more love, you know, we're stuck in the ego. That wheel is way inflated. It's keeping you in the earth ground only, whereas we want to go into other dimensions. The magic, it's like, wow, the magic and the miracles is beyond your belief.
Do they only come when you let go of the fear, the answers and the downloads? Yeah. Do you have to go through that first? to get rid of the blockages and the
They're
fear.
the blockages.
And that's when
that's when the magic
real
happens.
magic happens.
Real magic happens. I mean, I'm just completely guided by God.
Yeah.
You know, in the mornings when I just wake up, that's when I do my deep meditation, because I'm sort of coming out of sleep, but you know, still sort of semi-conscious. That's where I ask my guides, angels, God, you know, for guidance. Show me my miracles today. What's my guidance? And that's where I get the downloads. You know, everything that was in that course was downloaded. It was channeled. I didn't even have a set plan. It was like, okay, and I was like, right, next I'm going to do this. Next I'm going to do that. Because I channel, because I'm so connected. So I'm channeling information. I'm channeling what is you know, same in ceremony. You know, I'll channel what needs to be said to the room, and I'll come out and people say, that was for me, that wasn't it? I totally got that. You know, it's like, oh, maybe it was. You know, so I get out of my own way.
Right, it's a nice way you're putting it, isn't it?
Just get out of my own way. And I'm saying, if you've not got God in your life, you are not tapping into the biggest energy force that there is and the biggest vibration. And people have fear of God. And again, that comes from religion, because religion is, if you don't do this, you'll go to hell. So religion teaches us there's a hell and a heaven. And we go to those places. But that's not how it is. You live in hell or you live in heaven. I live in hell, and it's a place that you can find on this earth plane. And that's what ascension is. Finding heaven on earth, not keeping yourself in hell. You create your own hell. That's what the healing journey is. And when you're in that hell, your whole body's out of frequency. So you're going to get disease, you're going to get illness, you're going to get chronic disease. So when we bring the body back to balance and we do the energetic work and we do the, you know, we work on diet, because again, food is energy, food is frequency. So we want to be in high frequency foods. And again, the products that we use, we've got some amazing products now that are from Flourish Nourish. And again, they're made in Finland. And we do not get the minerals that we need from the soil anymore, because soil is dense because of the pesticides and everything that's been sprayed on it. So we don't get nutrients from food. So we need to put that into our bodies, because we're all lacking minerals. And we do that with Shilajit. And the Shilajit that we use, it comes from the Himalayas, and it's sourced at over 16,000 feet. And it's high frequency, because we need, and it's got the minerals that we'd no longer get from the soil. And these minerals have come through the mountains for thousands of years. You know, what's beautiful about the medicine that we use is that it's the local villagers that actually do the cleansing of it and work with it in the old ways of how we work with medicine. You know, we work with Shilajit. Sea moss. And again, there's so many people out there selling these products, and do you know what's in the product? Is it, you know, kosher, as we say? So the sea moss that we use, because there's a lot of farmers, the farming the sea moss, but we use it from St. Lucia, and it's organically comes from the sea. And what happens is the sea moss is within the rocks, and you're pulling out all the nutrients, 92 nutrients and minerals that we need in our body that comes through and actually goes into the sea moss. And again, the local farmers source that, and then they clean it up for us, and we get it dried and processed. So we're working with high frequency medicines. You know, like I say, we've got a whole array of beautiful products from, you know, and I know where these products are from, and it's a beautiful soul brother of mine that we're sourcing these medicines from, and the results that we're getting. You know,
how do you take the sea moss? What form does it come in?
So it comes in a gel, it gets made, but we're actually going to start making it into capsules as well.
Right.
And the Shilajit, take that.
So have you brought some Shilajit for me?
Oh yes, I brought.
How am I taking it? So
it's a small little pea side, just on the end of a spoon. I just take it straight in my mouth, because I know my body needs it, and I love the taste of it. It's really earthy. Okay. Other people will put it in warm water and drink it. I like to just
have that every single morning?
I do have days off of it.
Right.
You know, some days I don't take it. But you see, it's all about being in tune with your body. I know what my body needs. Okay? You know, I'm like, okay, what am I feeling today? What is it that I need in my body today? You know, some days I might not take the sea moss. I'm in tune with my body. I know what my body needs. So another day I might, I need a double dose today because I'm really feeling I need it. But once you go through the healing journey and you're back in balance, your four wheels are in balance and you're fueling your body, you know what your body needs. And we've lost that connection to the body. So many people have no idea what their body needs, and there's way too much information out there. So many different diets, so many different ways, and it's like people are confused. They've got too much information. You know, you can go on TikTok and Instagram and all these places, and people are sharing all this information. You're like, whoa, I'm confused. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I don't know how I'm supposed to do it. And there's four different keys to health, you know, to avoid. So GOF, gluten, oils, fried food, and false food. So let's look at gluten. Gluten, and this is a practice that I've took up now, and it's been a game changer for me. Gluten's in everything. It's in bread and it's in all sorts of things. And gluten is, we're all allergic to gluten, but some people have a less tolerance than others. So it's cutting out the breads and the gluten, you know. So we make our own bread now, and, you know, avoid things with gluten, because that is the gut health. Oils, what oils are in food? If you're reading a label and it's got all these different nasty oils in, it's so bad for your system. So being aware. So the only oils that I really use is really high quality olive oil, coconut oil. Yeah. Fried foods. Obviously it's bad for your system. And this is why, and especially the Americans are so overweight. You go everywhere, fried chicken, fried this, fried. So bad for our system. Cut it out. Maybe have it on occasion. False food. False food is so toxic in the body. And when I talk about false food, and this might trigger people, you know, we've got a lot of people who've become vegan. A lot of them are still unhealthy because they're eating false food, like the false meats, false eggs, all these false products that are full of toxins. And because they're not getting nutrients, they're steering more towards sugar. You'll find a lot of vegans who are eating a lot of sugar, and they're eating these processed foods that are not good for the system. Now, I'm vegetarian. You know, I eat eggs, but I eat good quality eggs from the farmer. I know where the hens are. I know they're looked after. You know, I sometimes eat some cheese if I feel my body needs it. I'm in tune with what my body needs. So, you know, it's understanding your body. We are not all the same. It's not a blanket thing for everybody. If somebody chooses to eat meat, fine. But I don't eat meat because, again, I'm all about energy. And animals today are caged just to be supplying meat. Every animal has a soul. And these animals are caged, and then they're brought to the slaughterhouse and they're killed in fear. All that fear is going into the meat, and I'm taking that into my body, and then I have to work it off. It's one of the big reasons why I don't eat meat, you know. But again, if I went to an ethical farmer and the cows have had a wonderful life in the field and they've been nurtured and they've been slaughtered in a more healthy way, then maybe. But you know, it's a choice. You know, and one of the biggest harmful things to the world now is the farming of cows. Cows is the biggest damage to the ozone. The eco gases off the cows, the amount of fields that have to be cut down for the feed for the cows, the amount of water that's used to feed these cows, and that's all for the greedy man. The greedy man who wants his steak every day, you know, and if you could just maybe cut back on meat a few days a week, you know, we're going to help save the system. And it's the biggest impact on the ozone is the gases that come off the cows, the amount of, you know, the Amazon. Oh my gosh, you know, I've got connection with the tribes in the Amazon, and one of the big messages that they tell us is that the Amazon is being cut down to make fields to feed the cows, for McDonald's, for all these other places, you know. And we really need, and that's what Christ conscious is. We're becoming into the more conscious of what we do into the world. The world is our birthplace, but we are the earth. So the more we raise our vibration, each person raising their vibration is healing the earth, because we are radiating that vibration and we're more aware of our impact, but also our radiation is helping the frequency of the earth. So this is why souls are coming and having this activation and raising their vibration, because we're actually healing the earth. So it's important. It's important you're aware of what you're putting in your body. It's important that you understand your body and what your body's needs are. And people say to me, oh, I couldn't do without this, I couldn't do without that. You know, we've just started a page now on Instagram, Shamanic Mastery. And we're going to be sharing some beautiful recipes that we use, because Chloe's always putting her pictures on her Instagram and everyone's like, oh, Chloe, how do you make this? And how do you make that? You know, she's such an amazing, she's so in tune with food. You know, and so we're going to start putting on, you know, different ways just to show you how amazing our food is. It's like phenomenal. And we're going to be sharing the products on that page. And if anybody's interested, you know, in the course or anything that we're talking about today, they can go on that page and drop us a message. That's Shamanic Mastery on Instagram. So it's all about understanding the body, understanding and taking responsibility for your health, you know, not just going to the doctor to get a prescription. You know, when I was a governor at the NHS and we used to look at the cases that were coming into A&E, we had people coming into A&E with a cold. We had people coming into A&E, most ridiculous ailments, and we're like, why are they in A&E? A&E is for, it's for emergency, you know? It's for acute cases. You've got people stacked up with all these elements, like you should not be in A&E. It's the worst place I'd want to go is a hospital, you know? And even like the care of patients, all these patients lay in a bed. You don't want to be laying in a bed when you're ill. You need to move your body. You need to get, you need to get active. Listen to frequency music. It's all healing. Everything's frequency. We are just frequency and sound and energy. That's what we are as humans. Yeah. So, yeah, it's bringing back the balance.
Still not on Instagram, still not anywhere, so I can send people to it. Right, if you just close your eyes and you want Sandra's number, it will come to you.
No, you can go on the new Instagram page, Shamanic Mastery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you can connect. But again, people can contact you, and I'm so grateful you're sending some beautiful souls to me that are doing beautiful work. And
I do have to say, the people do ask for Sandra's number on Instagram, and people do message me a lot. Look, I can't just send you Sandra's number if I don't know you, so I do apologise. I have to vet everybody. We've got to be really careful.
We do. We have to be careful, and we don't advertise this work because it's not for everybody, and you will source it, you will seek it, and you will find it when you're ready. So we really need to be mindful of that, because I don't want to be putting if you've got to advertise your work, then your reputation should be your work. Your work should be, that's really what it's about, isn't it? Yeah. People having the experience, and again, going back to why I created the course, is because we see the results, and it's like, You
can't do this on your own either.
No. And this is the foundations. The foundations are that we start to train people so they're becoming the energy healers. And my vision is to have the first energy healing clinic in the UK, and it just be all about energy, all about frequency, all about plant medicine, and that's what we're working towards. And having it out in nature, taking people out and letting them sit with a tree. That's where you find God. Let them be out in nature. So if anyone's listening to this and really want to do something instantly, get out for a walk in nature and really look at the trees and really look at, things that are around you. You can see them, but tell yourself, oh, look, I'm looking at the trees. Be present in nature.
Sit with the tree that's what you're telling. Sit with the tree.
Go sit with a tree. Sit at the base of a tree. Because you know what you're doing? You're still in the mind.
I love it. Sandra, I love it. It's just, even now it's bonkers. It's like, well, you're going to go and sit with the tree.
It's funny because
I might use that instead.
Lewis said to me yesterday, he rang me and said, oh, I'm going to send you a picture of this tree. And I went, oh, that's my porn now. Looking at trees. Looking at pictures of trees. So it's
instead of
like,
only fans, it's only trees.
You what? The power of trees. Well, you think about a tree.
I'll set you off again, Alan. Go on.
You think about a tree, right?
Yeah.
A tree, okay, has roots right down into the earth.
I love it. That's where I'm at, mate.
So you look at a tree, right? They've got the roots right down into the earth.
Yeah.
And then it's got its trunk, and then it's got its branches.
Yeah.
But that tree also needs the connection of the other trees around it. Yeah, it needs that communal connection, but it also needs the elements of the sky, the elements of the earth to survive. So you think of us humans, we need to go back and learn the lessons of the tree. Yeah. We don't only need to be grounded in the earth, we need connection to others, and we also need to be in the elements of the sky, clean air. So the trees are teaching us everything. That's how they survive. And that's why a lot of us are in denseness, because you've not got beautiful connection to each other. You are not out in the elements, in the earth, and you are not, get your shoes and socks off and get yourself grounded. If something is going on for you right now, take your shoes and socks off, put your feet on the earth and send it back into the earth. Yeah, get grounded. Get grounded. So important. Grounded. So important.
That's it, everybody. Go and sit with a tree. Sandra, love you to bits. Thank you for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Tim Marner, you're pregnant with the best. Tim Marner,